Hello, everybody. Oh boy. Good evening. Happy Money Stop Monday. I guess we can start calling it Money Stop Monday. Also, I just noticed that the Richmond Trophy is in between us still, but it's all right. I enjoy being there. But um, yeah, like I said, welcome in everybody. This is episode 8 of the Money Stop. We have a very jam-packed episode and a lot to get to tonight. So without further ado, we can get right into it. First things first, we have some breaking news out of the, I guess, garage today, but more so GFM. As we know that they've had a crazy season so far, they literally just won this past weekend at Coda. Was their first win for the organization this season, and we know that Craigus is making some movements next season as well. But the main news out of the garage coming today is that Land will be out for the next 6 to 8 weeks following surgery that he will be having. He will be serving as a crew chief for GFM drivers in select races. That is all that we have in terms of the information given to us from GFM. Um, I would say that I'm a little worried, like right off the bat, just about this because obviously, yeah, he won at Coda this past weekend, but I wonder if he has subs, how much of a hole are they going to put him in once the playoffs come around, or if we should just overall be worried about this team. And 6 to 8 races is a lot of time to miss. Um, let's see. Looking at the schedule, if he doesn't
Yeah,
come to the
I
next
think
6 to 8 races, he wouldn't be back until probably
he said he was
March.
hoping to be back around. I think he said he's for sure gonna miss Talladega, but around the Washington Street course.
Okay.
I think I saw him say that in the Discord somewhere.
Hmm. All right. Well, it's still that's still a lot of races to be missing out on, which is
Yeah,
very unfortunate for that team. And I mean, they should be very happy and grateful that they won this weekend because if something had gone wrong and if they didn't end up winning, I think I definitely would have hit the panic alarm. And this is we're talking about the defending series champion here. Like this is not some guy that runs last every week. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about the guy who won the championship last year. He went out and won all those races and um, was dominant. And now, he's gonna have a big kind of chunk gone in his season, and I don't know what to expect um, when the team gets back in full force and when we really get to see what this team looks like when he comes back. It should be very interesting to see. But Laner, what are your thoughts on this whole thing? Because this is still very fresh to us. So um,
Y-
obviously our opinions are still very new. So what are your thoughts on this decision and this announcement today?
honestly, I think it's a little bit concerning, just because I feel like that team just now found their rhythm at Coda. They've been struggling to start the year. Like they really haven't been that consistent, but they finally broke through and got a win. And you feel like this would be when that team would start building momentum and kind of winning a few races. So it'll be interesting to see how that team performs. Like I kind of wonder if he might be a little bit rusty, coming back from injury. So it's, I mean, he's gonna have like 3 races if he comes back at the street course. He'll have 3 races until the playoffs to kind of get his footing back. Um, but you also have to recognize that he's going to be in a huge point deficit because he only has 5 playoff points, I believe. Um, and everybody else is probably going to be around 8 to 10 at least. So I feel like in that first round of the playoffs, he might be in a must-win situation. But I mean, I don't want to speak too soon. That's just kind of my prediction. So it'll be really interesting to see how that team responds to that.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess for a second too, we can talk about like because most likely he'll have a reserve driver in place for most of these races, which is Bip. Um, my only concern is that if he's filling in for Land and another driver might be out, like let's say Craigus won't be here for Homestead, where is the contingency plan for that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Hmm.
think they have another uh um slotted driver to fill in for that spot unless they can pull
Yeah,
somebody from Rocky Top, but there's no guaranteed driver that could fill that spot. And that's a little concerning to me just because um it kind of puts a question up in the air of like, what's going to happen if a situation like that comes in. But I guess for
well,
now, we can only focus on Land and hoping for a speedy recovery for him. And it's definitely unfortunate to see, like you said, it kind of kills any momentum that they kind of started um, to have go their way. And it was definitely a very, very good weekend for them. They swept both races and um, they were very, very fast all weekend long. There was a moment in that cup race at the end where I wasn't too sure if they were going to come out on top, but
yeah,
you know, the cards dealt right, and they came out when it mattered, and I think that it just really shows their speed. Um, on the road courses, and it really shows that that team still can go out, win races, and when it matters, be up front. Because it's been a rocky last couple weeks for that team. So I'm
yeah,
glad that they found victory lane, but bummed that he will be off the track for the next several weeks, and I'm sure that he will miss racing, and it will be definitely a couple weeks, a quiet couple weeks for him. But oh man, um,
yeah. Also, I will say, I don't believe sub drivers can actually collect playoff points. So I don't really see what the reason would be for someone to sub for Land because he's already locked into the playoffs. So, um,
I guess my thought
I
was
mean,
just trying to maintain the points gap that he's gonna lose.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I guess if it once he gets into the playoffs, it's just going to be the same regardless. So, but I mean, I guess that'll be interesting to see if they even decide to get a sub driver for him.
Yeah, for sure. Um, okay, well, that kind of leads into Coda. What we're going to talk about. I think that was the first thing we've really had scheduled for the episode tonight. But with this news coming out, we kind of had to put it front and center. Um, but I would say that Coda was a decent race. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. Like there was some things about it that could have been a lot better. I did like the racing for the most part. Just that there was passing and there was some strategy in there. Like I know for a fact that I was able to jump a couple cars by pitting a lap earlier, and it helped somehow, some way. So yeah, just I think it was a really good race for passing and for just having a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a little conflicted just because the racetrack is very unique. Um, there were some parts of it that were easier than others. Like I know that like the first section of the racetrack, like through the S's down to like the backstretch, they were fairly easy. And then once you got past the backstretch into that inner section of the track, that's when like it really, really became a struggle with these cars. And I'm not sure um, if it's the package or if it's just the way that the cars our handling on this track specifically, but my car, and I know a lot of other cars struggled. Um, we just could not get through some parts of the racetrack, and I think it was interesting too because you never really saw anybody pull away. I feel like if somebody took the lead, maybe they'd jump out for a couple laps, and then second or third place would go and run them down again, which I thought was pretty cool. But it's a handful for these cars on that track clearly. So I want to know your thoughts on this, Laner. Do you think this track should return, or do you think that there needs to be a fix? Because you and I both raced, so we
Yeah.
can attest to what we saw during the race with our cars and other people's performance and handling. Um, is there any changes that need to be made to this track? Do you think?
Well, I know exactly what the issue was, and I know exactly what part of the track you're talking about. It's basically a track friction issue, which is something that can be I don't really know how to explain it, but it's something that has to be edited in Roblox Studio, and for some reason that portion of the track did not have the correct friction. So like the beginning parts of the track were at the correct value, but that part was like not. So um, that could definitely be fixed. But me personally, I would like to see us get away from Coda next season. Um, I mean, this is our second time going to Coda, and I feel like we should just try like a different road course, whether that's Road America or Sonoma or Watkins Glen or any other road course. But it's nothing against Coda. I really have a lot of fun at Coda, but I would really like to mix things up on the schedule, and try to go somewhere else personally.
And I will back you up on that too. Um, I didn't know that it was a track friction issue. But hopefully, if the series does return to this track in um, season three, I would hope to see, just a better improvement with the track friction. But um,
Yeah,
I would say a good replacement for this track, if there is a way to get it, um, I guess in a way raceable, would be either Sonoma or the Indianapolis road course. Um, I think that both of those tracks have so much opportunity to be good races. And I don't know why, but like I just feel like those two tracks really, really would fit these cars well, just with a little bit of adjustment. Nothing too crazy, but um, we've raced at Watkins Glen before, and we know how the races go there. They're subliminal. They're not exciting. It's like it it can get to a point where it's just not enjoyable. And I don't know. Coda, yeah, I will agree, is just somewhere I'd like to stay away from, just because I think we'd be better off not going there. Um, but I think having it this season and last season was definitely a good track for the league to expand on road courses with.
yeah.
But I'd say it's probably time to move to a different track, and I think Sonoma or Indy would be perfect for that. I don't know your thoughts on Indy. You mentioned Sonoma, but
Yeah, Indy, I mean, I think that would be a great road course. I mean, you don't want to do anything overwhelming. Road America might be a little bit too much, just because it's such a big track. But I think Indy would be a lot of fun, yeah. And like I said, it's nothing really against Coda. I just feel like um, as a league, we kind of need to evolve. And going to the same road course every single season is not really evolving, in my opinion. So I would just like to see. I mean, honestly, I would like to see if we only have one road course on the schedule every season. I would like to see us go to a different one every season. We can kind of like rotate, you know?
hmm not even that too. But I think we also have to talk about that there is a street course in this schedule as well. a points
Yeah.
paying street course. And that is going to be something to watch as well because let's say the race doesn't go well. Well, then what do you do? Do you put another road course in, or do you put another street course like the Chicago street course in? Or do you make up another fantasy street course like the Washington street course? You know what I mean? So there's many options there. And I think there's many opportunities to expand on. But yeah, I would say like having a rotating uh, having a rotating road course, maybe like one or two on the schedule, is not the worst thing. But yeah, definitely needs to rotate. Um, I'm not a fan of uh, the same thing being on the schedule. I think it gets boring, and if people know it's going to be a bad race, they're not going to look forward to it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I fully agree.
um, but let's see. So, talking more specifically though about Coda, obviously Land won this race. Let's talk about some of the other front runners. So Slater was obviously up there, um, and he won the first stage, I believe. Yes, he won the first stage, and he was up there at the end, and then lost it right at the end. But I would say that team is definitely poised for a win. I could tell on Saturday that they've really put the field on notice. That team was fast and they had lots of speed, and they're definitely gonna be fast as long as they stay consistent in attendance and just being there at the racetrack. Um, I think they will be good. They will definitely get a win this season. Where that comes, I'm not sure. Maybe at the street course, um, if that fits his driving style. But um, I think definitely that team is uh gonna 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 win maybe a few races this season. Um, who else was up front? Um, I feel like
Jax.
yeah, I feel like Jax was really fast, and for a rookie, he did a really good job um, getting around that place. I know, like for some of the rookies and some of the newer drivers, it can be a bit of a pain just because like you have never raced that track before, and it's a road course, so it's like it's not the same every lap. Um, but Jax did a really good job maneuvering and making his way through the field, and um, I don't have the final results up right now, but do we know where he finished?
Jax. I do not off the top of my head. I know him and Slater got into a wreck on the last lap, so he might have fallen off quite a bit.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. We'll just say he finished. If he finished in the top five, we'll just say that. But yeah, he finished top five. But a nice top five for him and a team who is very, very fast on Saturday. I think this season is probably shaping up to be more of a SSR and GFM season, just from what we've seen out of uh, week three already, um, or week four, excuse me. And I think that just given the drivers in each roster, I think that we're in for a very exciting rivalry. I don't know if it's more of a rivalry, but just back and forth between both teams. And I will also say, too, Aiden had a lot of speed on Saturday as well. Um, and I think that has to be mentioned, too, because I spent a lot of time, uh, not in the back, but like just not it was kind of like we had like an average run, I would say. Um, and Aiden was just constantly picking his way through the field, and that team led some laps as well, so they definitely made themselves noticeable too, to the rest of the field. And I think that they that was definitely a good confidence booster for the team. But is there anything else that you noticed in terms of like front runners or just things that stood out to you during the race?
Um, I will say during there were a few people, I don't really know who they were exactly, but um I think people need to learn how to give people room going into the braking zones. Um because I cannot count how many times I had people slam into my bumper going into a braking zone. It's like you have to at least give the person in front of you room to make the corner. Like you can't just ram into them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that I mean that's extremely frustrating because um these guys just run into the back of you and you get wrecked because of it, and then they're just flying through the field.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's really a good way to race, and I don't think you should feel good about yourself moving up through the field just by taking people out. I mean, there's plenty of passing zones at Coda that you can take advantage of cleanly. You don't have to be racing that way. And I was honestly very disappointed in how many times that happened to me and other people during the race. Um, I'm not going to name names because honestly, I don't know. Lego and Jax were both running similar schemes. I know it was one of those two. I don't know who it was, so I'm not going to call anybody out. Um, but one of those two got into me like 4 or 5 times, and it's just like y'all you just got to break. Like seriously, we're at a road course. This is not Daytona. Um, so I was disappointed by that. In terms of people running well, I really felt like everybody had a shot to win that race. Like everybody spent time up front. Whether it was me, you, IC, Land, Slater, Aiden, um, Jax. I don't. Lego might have spent time up front. I don't know off the top of my head, but he was really competitive in trucks. But like literally everybody had a shot to win that race. So yeah, I was impressed. It was a really competitive race. There was a lot of strategy involved as well.
Yeah, I will agree to the thing about, you know, kind of just backing off when you are entering the corner. I did notice that a lot during the race, and I will admit I did it once or twice too, but it's just one of those things where you can't perfect every lap, um, but you can certainly try to limit your mistakes every lap. Um, and I don't think everybody really uh, took into account of the driving lines. Like a lot of drivers that I saw, they kind of just like obliterated the corner. Um, I think the turn before the long backstretch, um, a lot of drivers like kind of tried to dive it in on either restarts or just when they were near other cars. And like the typical driving line is like, you know, staying straight all the way down and then kind of arcing it right so you hit the apex. But um that was not the case. And I think a lot of drivers were having trouble with that curb because of that reason. Um, I hit the curb a couple times there, but I certainly did not make the corner like I didn't make it correctly how I should have. So I think that that was a common problem too, is just like certain drivers were just obliterating corners and then it's expecting to be let by. Um, but yeah, it definitely created some frustration. And yeah, it sucks, but what can you do? I don't know. But I guess that kind of ties back into considering other road courses to go to. Um, this problem is certainly avoidable, but I guess the question more so is what tracks are they avoidable at? Problems like this. What tracks will they be avoidable at, and what tracks can prevent this stuff from happening? Um, and I think another thing too is that the runs build up so fast, like through the S's and through that back first section where you get down to the turn before the long straight, the run builds up so fast, and then you have to try and figure out when the best time is to brake. Um, I know people were going like maybe over 210 at some parts of it. But it's like you just have to figure out when to brake, and I think people kind of miss that motto with that turn and a lot of the other turns. But yeah, it certainly was an interesting race. I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed the racing itself, but I didn't enjoy it as a driver, and I flat out just point blank period do not want to see this racetrack back on the schedule next season. I don't think
Yeah.
it deserves a date, unfortunately. And I think that there's better options for these cars, and um, just for I don't know, like racing, racing, having good racing and having no problems. I feel like there is a lot of better options than Coda, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And honestly, I feel like that is more of a driver respect thing. Um, like the braking in the corners, because you're not just gonna run into somebody that you respect on the track. Um, so I don't really know that there's any way to fix that, honestly. But yeah, I don't know. Like we've talked about this several times. Like there's really very little respect in the garage. There are certain drivers who respect each other, but at the end of the day, there's always going to be drivers who don't respect one another. So these issues are just going to keep happening. Um, there's nothing you can really do to fix that. I guess, like you mentioned, we just have to find tracks that don't present these opportunities, because we know it's an issue. If you give drivers very sharp braking zones, they're gonna use it to their advantage. So probably best to just find other tracks to go to avoid these issues.
agreed. Yeah. Let's get into the points real quick, and I'll put them up on the screen. So these are Wake Forest standings. Just a basic rundown. So I have taken the points lead, um, but by 1 point. And Icy is in second, Land third, 2 points back, Laner fourth, 4 points back, and then fifth is Slater with uh, 108 points. He is 21 points back. Wendigo is sixth. He is uh, 27 points back. And then, or sorry, 25. Then Lego is seventh with 102 points, and he has 27 points back. Jax is right on the cut line with 88 points, and he is 41 points back. And then below the cut line is Aiden in ninth with 81 points. He is 48 points back. And Craigus is 10th with 61 points and 68 points back. And Rondo is in last with 39 points and 90 points back. So, what are we seeing here? What do we like? What do we don't like? Um, Laner, I'll let you kind of dive in first.
So yeah, there's a very clear gap between the top four drivers, all being within 4 points, and then Slater's kind of off a little bit. I would say the top seven though are all. I mean, we're all within a race of each other. Like
Yep.
technically, Lego could have the points lead coming out of Homestead. I mean, it's mathematically possible. So the top seven are all very close. Um, there's kind of a drop off after eighth, and then there's a major drop off from ninth. Um, it looks like Slater gained 2 positions on the points. He's in the top five now. Icy lost the points lead. Um, yeah, I would the top four in points right now. I would say have been the most consistent for all season. I'm not saying that in a biased way because me and you are up there. I just personally feel like Me, you, Icy, and Land have been the most consistent for. I also noticed that me and Icy are the only drivers to get a top five in every race so far, which is pretty impressive. Um, but yeah, I mean, top seven in points are all very close. There's definitely going to be a battle for the cutoff spot. I feel like this season you're probably going to have to get a win. That's just kind of the way I'm thinking. If you don't win a race, you might be in trouble because we still have quite a few races left, and it's possible we could get more than 8 winners. I mean, it's even possible that Land might have to come back and win another race because if we did get more than 8 winners, he would be left out.
Mhm.
So
Obviously, assuming those 8 people or those 8 winners stay consistent.
yeah,
Um, I think it's worth noting too that probably after Homestead, Land will be out of that category of being within the points lead. Um, like I don't know if they're gonna put in a sub driver for him or if they're just gonna put the 20 car away for a couple weeks, but whatever they decide to do, he's definitely gonna drop. Um, and I don't know how far he'll drop. I'm like trying to map it out by like looking at the points, but I don't know how far he'll drop. But like I wonder if he would drop below the cutoff line. I wonder.
he will drop below the cutoff line. Yeah, but
Yeah,
like, there's no question about that. Um, but he does have that win, so
right.
um, with the format, he will be locked in. But yeah, no question, he will definitely. Um, if Rondo comes back, Rondo might even jump him in the points. Like, he might be the last place driver. Um,
Yeah,
if Rondo attends every single race from now, hypothetically, if Rondo attends every single race from now on and Land misses all these races, then Land would probably be around 10th or 11th.
right. And
So
I think too, it's worth noting that Craigus was out at Coda, and look at him. He has 61 points down there in 10th. He's 68 points off of the points lead. Um, how would you say he has to make that up?
um, I, I think that team needs to be in a must win. Just, yes, they could point their way in. But what I've seen from that team so far this season has not impressed me. I think I said that on the last episode. Um, and the people ahead of him, Aiden, Jax, Lego, Wendigo, um, they've all shown speed different times this year. Aiden's fast every week. Jax almost won Coda. Like, he was up there on the last lap competing for the win. Lego, I mean, Lego's really good at the intermediates, and he normally gets his car to the finish. Uh, he at least gets something out of it, like top five, top three, whatever. He'll get points out of the day. And Wendigo's been pretty fast everywhere too. So for me, it would be a lot to ask for the 54 team to go and get into the playoffs on points. I'm not saying it's not possible, and I'm not saying anything negative because these things can change so quickly. I'm just saying, from what I've seen so far this season, that I would think that team needs to be thinking they have to win a race.
Yeah, it's definitely a must-win mentality. I agree. I think that I think they definitely need to start preparing for a shift. Like what changes do they need to make to the car to put them back in a winning position? Um, because even when he was racing, I was not seeing winning speed out of that car. Um,
Mhm.
he was decent at Richmond, I guess, but even then, it's like I would still expect there to be a change internally, whether that's a crew chief or a spotter or just a change to the car. There sometimes major teams have to take a major swing on a setup or just an approach to a weekend, whether it's strategy wise or whatever, to put themselves back into um, the conversation. And I think this team definitely has to do that soon, um, sooner rather than later. If they don't do it soon, it might be too late. But yeah, I would definitely say it's worth having a conversation about over at GFM about why this team is not performing like they should be, because they made the championship four last year and they won a couple of races. So I think that it's a little just odd that they've kind of devolved into um, a team that's struggling so much. And
Mhm.
like I said, I don't know what happens like year to year because it's like um one season you can be like lights out fast every week, win a bunch of races, and then next season come in and you're like a C tier team. You know what I mean? Like um it's just one of those things where that could happen to anybody, but um I'm curious to see how they'll dig themselves out of the hole.
Yeah, I think for that team, I would just be taking it week by week. Like, don't even look ahead. Just going into Homestead. Like, how can we maximize our day today? Like, because right now you're not in a must win like mathematically.
Mhm.
So go into Homestead. How can we get stage points in every stage, and how can we get a top five out of this? If they do that every single week, they'll be back in it by the All Star break. So they really just need to take this week by week, and try to maximize their day. If we still don't see that gap shrinking a little bit by the All Star break, and I know that's only two races away, um, but I would be kind of concerned, and I think in that final stretch, that team's really going to have to turn it on, and so I don't know. I would like to see that shrink a little bit by the All Star break. Otherwise, they might want to change their strategy and just go out there and go for a win. I don't know.
Yeah. Um, I think another team I'm looking at too is Lego. Um, I don't know really what to make of Lego's performance, but I feel like it's been everything short of, uh, I guess, decent performance.
Mhm.
I like coming into this season, I expected a lot from Lego, but just the past couple weeks have shown me like I'm not too sure if my expectations are going to be accurate or like I'm not really sure what to make of this team right now. I know that they're probably still finding their footing and they're still trying to work the kinks out with Rondo and just you know trying to approach each racetrack differently, cuz keep in mind they are the only Chevys on track. Like literally,
Yeah.
there is only two Chevys in this field. The rest are Fords and Toyotas. So I think that they're kind of the outliers here. So I think Lego needs to figure out how to get that Chevy team to victory lane. Um, and I don't know. I mean, I like their set of tracks coming up. I mean, Homestead, he's fairly decent at. I'll give him the nod with Homestead. Darlington, I'm not sure what to make of that yet, just because only the championship four raced there last season, and then in past seasons it's been very different. But last season was the first season with like actually racing on the racetrack and having a package, and um, I will be very curious to see how that team performs. And then with I'll skip over the All Star race, but with Kansas and Iowa, I don't know. I think they're all big question marks, but I think those question marks can turn into W's. They can definitely turn into wins. Um, and I just realized this that Land's streak is going to come to an end uh, with him not being at Iowa. and it's very unfortunate. But I wonder who will capture that race. Um, I that just looking at the schedule, that's something I thought of just now. Um, but yeah, that streak will be broken once we get to Iowa. So um, maybe Lego can shine there. I'm not really sure what track to circle for this team yet.
Yeah.
They really just are confusing me. Like I don't know what type of speed they're gonna bring. And then it's like I don't really know uh what to expect out of them. They were decent too at Richmond. I will give that to them. They were decent, but they didn't have winning speed. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Yeah, and I'm just looking back at the point standings. After Atlanta, they were fourth in the points. That's his high all season. After Atlanta, they dropped to sixth, and now after Coda, they are in seventh. So they hit a high after Atlanta, and now you're just seeing like a steady decline. And if I was Lego, I would honestly be concerned, because there's three drivers behind him in the standings that I think could win a race, um, seriously at any time. Um, like I know we say Craigus is having issues, but I mean he still made the championship for last season, and that team is still capable of winning a race any week, in my opinion. They just have to figure it out. But Aiden, Jax, Craigus, any of those guys could win a race. I'm not saying Lego couldn't, but I just haven't seen that from them this season. And if I was Lego's team, I would be a little bit concerned, that they've dropped one spot in the standings every week so far. At what point are they going to drop below the cutoff line? And then they're going to be looking up, thinking, like, what just happened? We were just fourth in the standings. Now we're on the outside looking in, you know? So I think for that team, they need to figure it out before it's too late. Uh, so, yeah, I think that team should have a sense of urgency about approaching the rest of the regular season. Um, because like I've said before, I really think every driver needs to be thinking about getting a win this season, just with how competitive the field is. So I don't think that's any different. And I think Lego's going to be one of the guys that is in that cutoff battle. So, I don't know. The one thing Lego does have going for him, though, is that he normally attends every single race. So, um, he'll get points from that. At least everybody else normally misses a race or two, so um, he might be able to sneak his way in from that. Um,
I think he
and
needs to
something,
start planning for racing more aggressively as well. Um,
yeah, I agree.
you can finish what you were gonna say. I kind of cut you off, but
Oh, you're good. I was just gonna say before I forgot. Do you think that the championship four drivers from last season are going to have like a massive advantage at Darlington? I just thought about that whenever you mentioned, because we ran like 100 and something laps there last season. Um,
right.
and all these other guys aren't going to have any like meaningful track time there.
Will the package be the same?
I think so. I mean, I assume.
Then I'll say yes. Um, Here's my thing. Um, with Darlington, it's like there's multiple lines you can run. More so in the first set of turns than 3 and 4, but there is a set of lines that you can run, and I think the championship four drivers have already figured that out. Um, and I think that they definitely have some sort of advantage, but that's the only reason too I don't like um, having only four championship cars in the race is because of that advantage that it gives to the drivers. Like if that track comes back next season, and also just like some drivers being allowed the opportunity to race and some not. But uh, I think for Darlington alone, I think those drivers will have some sort of advantage until the other teams can figure it out, or if they find a way to make it past those other drivers. But um,
Yeah.
with Landau, it's a big question mark because he did win there the last time we were there. That was the championship venue. So I think it's going to be hard to tell. I'm not really sure what to expect. I know things will probably get spread out again. Pit strategy might come into play, but I think once that strategy comes into play and things get very spread out, the results will stay how they are, I think. Um, there wasn't really much movement in the championship race. I mean, yeah, we were spread out, but I feel like I was still within Land's draft, but I couldn't make up any time with new tires. So um, I'm not really sure what to make of it. It'll be definitely an interesting race, but with 9, 10 cars maybe, or 8, 9 cars maybe, it's definitely going to be something interesting to watch. Um, like who can figure it out first.
Yeah. And what you said about the four, I feel like you could have more than four drivers in the championship race, but I would just get worried about like teams having agendas. Like if you just have four championship drivers, everybody wants to win. Regardless of if you're on the same team or not, you all want to win. But let's say we have a full field and we have teammates that aren't in the championship race, then they start blocking championship drivers that aren't on their team or wrecking them. Or I just feel like you're opening up a can of worms, um, that it things could go bad if you do that. That's just the first thing that comes to mind for me, is that there could be some really screwy stuff going on if you allow more than four.
Here's my thing with that. Um, if people have a problem with getting held up in a race by another driver that is expected to hold them up, deal with it. Um, it's racing, you know. I don't think anything should be handed down to you on a plate, and I think like having four drivers in a race is kind of like having it handed to you because automatically you have a 25% chance to win. Um, and to me that doesn't allow you to earn it. And I feel like in a full field of cars, it gives you a better chance to earn it. And I think like yeah, team agendas will definitely play a role into it, but it also kind of just gets back into driver respect, um, and what is morally right and what is not morally right. And I can't really speak to like what would happen with a full field like that, but I know that it's gonna happen regardless, and you just have to deal with it. It's racing. There's no really other way around it. If you can't deal with that, I don't know what to tell you. But um, yeah, just to me, it doesn't seem fair because it just it keeps four drivers in a race, but you know it doesn't really allow the others to have the chance to compete for that same trophy. So, um, or I should say, the same trophy that they're racing for the win for. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. I think that I'll let Craigus and Lego run the league how they'd like, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion. That's just my opinion when it comes to that. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I can see both sides of it. Definitely. I'm not. I guess I get more worried about like intentional stuff, like if there were team orders behind closed doors, and I'm not saying that would happen. I would really hope that would never happen. Just saying, like worst case scenario, um, like somebody wants to go out there and start intentionally wrecking people, um,
yeah.
it could kind of ruin the race. But that would be my only concern about it. But that can be a topic for maybe championship week or something. I don't know.
Yeah, just depending on what the format is going to look like. Um, I think that is definitely a topic for when we get to Texas.
Yeah.
And I think too, like with Texas, I don't think like having four cars is like necessary. I feel like you could have a full field at Texas, um,
Yeah,
and have fun with it. I feel like Darlington, I could understand because once the tires wear, it becomes almost impossible to run that racetrack. And it really requires the whole racetrack to spread out and, um, stay consistent with your line that you're running. Um, but I do think that with Texas, it's going to be a very different story. And I hope that they'll at least keep some drivers in there, apart from the championship four.
yeah, especially if the multi-groove stuff is in by then. So,
Yeah, what is going on with that, by the way?
well, that's kind of been put on pause with all of the lag stuff going on.
Right, right, right.
Um, so now we've kind of had a few races with the lag, and it seems like it's better for most people. So um, we're kind of starting to focus on those other features again now. So we haven't really been working on it a lot recently, but hopefully now that the lag stuff is kind of fixed, we can um, get that going again.
Yeah, I, I, I hope to see it soon. Um, I'm excited to have the chance to run that at a couple different tracks. But, um, oh my goodness, we're already about 50 minutes into this episode. That's crazy. I We've just been talking. That's it.
Yeah.
Um, Let me see here. Okay, let's talk about Darlington and what we expect for Darlington. Um, Obviously, we know that these four drivers that were in the race last season will have some sort of advantage. Do you think anybody will figure it out? And if so, who will figure it out first? Just in terms of the car setup and finding their way to the front.
Wait, are we going to? I think next week's Homestead, right?
Oh yeah, I keep saying Darlington. I don't know why. Um,
Okay.
I mean, we can talk about Darlington too, but same
Yeah.
thing with Homestead. Who are you expecting for Homestead?
Um. Well, I think it'll be kind of similar to Atlanta. Um. Just because of the package and um the track type. So I think you'll see a lot of similar people up front, but it will be interesting now that Land's not in the race. So um, I don't know. I expect my team to run really well. We ran really well at Atlanta. I think Aiden didn't race at Atlanta, so I'll be interested to see what that team could do at an intermediate type track. Obviously, you and Icy won Atlanta, so just kind of like the familiar people. Wendigo will probably be fast, so I don't really know that there's a favorite. I feel like these intermediate tracks are kind of wild cards. Anybody can really go out and win.
I feel like I don't know. Is the package the same as it was the last time we were there?
At Atlanta, I think it'll be a similar package to Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say that I don't really know what to expect just because of the package. I think the track is gonna be a lot different in terms of the way that it's uh approached with the race. So I'm not really sure what to expect yet, but I do expect those front runners to be up front. I don't think things will get spread out this week. I think it's going to be very close again. It'll kind of be a train race. Um, the last few weeks, things have gotten spread out, so that's kind of been a nice refresher. But yeah, if it's going to be like anything like Atlanta, I think we'll definitely see another train race. But I mean, Atlanta for you got out a couple tenths ahead of everybody and were able to kind of like maintain that gap. So I wonder if that will be the same thing for somebody or multiple drivers this weekend, if they'll be able to find something that gives them a couple tenths ahead of the rest of the field and they can kind of maintain that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I think that'll be interesting to see. But do you
Also,
go ahead?
the side draft has been taken out since Richmond. I don't know if we will put that back in for Homestead, but that'll add a different thing to the race if the side draft isn't in as well.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely gonna make a big difference. Um, for uh Atlanta, I would say that it was definitely a big killer with the side draft on speed. It definitely killed a lot of people's speed in the car. So thankfully, we won't have to deal with that. And there can maybe be a little more of an exciting battle this weekend. I hopefully will look forward to that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a fun race. I don't know. But what would you say you're looking forward to most?
For Homestead,
Yeah.
um, I guess just seeing what people are running up front. Because this will be our second intermediate race of the year, so w- we've really had like a lot of different track types. This is going to be the first time we're kind of going to the same style of track twice, so we can kind of start putting trends together and seeing what teams run well at what tracks. And I'll be interested to see if anything carries over from Atlanta or if this is just another total wild card. So I'll be looking at that, just seeing if some of these teams have found consistent speed on the mile and a halves.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, we got a comment here in the Discord um, from Wendigo. He asked if there was a bye week this week. Um, I don't know if anything's like been confirmed. I know that there's been talks of a bye week, but I don't know if there's anything that's been confirmed yet. Um, I would say if there is a bye week and we do race next week, that the biggest winner out of that would probably be Land. Because then that's one less week that he'll have to probably miss. Um, but if there is a bye week, then it kind of gives teams more time to prep for the race. As some may know, we have Memorial Day this weekend. So they're racing in real life, but not too sure if we're going to be racing this weekend. But yeah, I'm not really sure what the plan is yet. But I leave that up to Craigus and Lego to determine what the final decision out of that will be. Not
Yeah,
too sure yet. Um,
yeah.
but getting back to what we were talking about, I think. Wait, I don't even know. Did I let you finish? I don't know if you were finished talking.
No, I didn't even say anything, so you're good.
No, like before I
Oh,
mentioned Wendigo's comment. I don't know if you were finished
oh,
talking or
yeah, you're good.
okay. Um, yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting though. I think just with the side draft gone and Land won't be there, I think that there's going to be a lot up for grabs. And I think that Homestead for me is a very unique racetrack because I won the championship here at this racetrack, so it means a lot to me as a driver and um, as a, I guess, a veteran. It means a lot to me. So I'm looking forward to getting back there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I don't know how many laps we're looking at, but um, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out there whenever we get out there and laying down some laps. Hopefully we'll both have fast cars this weekend. I think this is a good time to remind people that we'll have our money stop cars on display this weekend for every single lap. The money stop will be promoted on track this weekend. Um, Very, very nice paint schemes made by the lovely man sitting next to me. Um, just looking forward to getting out there with this car, and I think it'll be more of a personal touch with the car this week than any other week. So I'm looking forward to running this paint scheme and running it at this racetrack. um yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to remind people that we're running those cars though. And if you get the 22 and 44 mixed up somehow, good luck, that is on you time. um
Yeah.
and yeah. um I'm not even gonna get into that whole thing with the broadcast because uh, I was gonna talk about it. We had planned on talking about it before the episode, but I let it slip because I think I already mentioned it on the last episode. But just I think that there just needs to be more variety with the broadcasts. I don't have a problem overall with time hosting and streaming the broadcasts and streaming the races. But I think if he's going to stream the races, other people are going to be watching, and then other drivers are going to look back on it and they'd like to see some angles. So either flip between drivers or let's get a spectator system added in. I know,
Speaking of that,
yeah, I know you
uh,
might have something to spill about that, but I definitely did want to add that in before we wrap up.
yes, I'm actually in Roblox Studio doing that right now, and um, it is going very good. So I that's all I'm gonna say because I want people to be surprised by it. But the broadcast should look a lot better very soon.
Hmm. Do you think we could see this by Homestead or?
I think you could probably see it in about an hour.
Okay. All right. That's doable. That's doable. Um, maybe we can run a test race later tonight and
Yeah.
see how it looks with it. But I think if that is implemented and it looks very well and it works, I think that we could be set up very nicely for races here on out. And yeah, it seems like people in the chat are very excited about this, but um, I'm glad that we're getting that because we have a traditional spectate system where you can view like cars individually, but it takes forever to fly between drivers, like to switch between drivers, and there's not like a list that we can just click on a driver. Um,
Yeah.
so it's kind of annoying because when you're on the broadcast and you're trying to find a certain driver, it takes forever to flip through it. So um, that sucks about that one because I feel like that spectate system is great and it works perfectly fine. It's just that problem of having to flip through. But I'm looking forward to a new system being put in. That should be very exciting for fans and for viewers of the stream. And hopefully, time will utilize that. Hopefully, um, and we'll get some good angles at each racetrack. I'm looking forward to that. Um, all right, let's wrap up, I guess, with our rate the race and our Homestead picks. I almost said Darlington again. Yeah, yeah. Let's wrap up with our rate the race, and I guess I'll start this week. I am going to give Coda a 40%. Um, I am going way low with this one. Um,
Gosh.
I just honestly I think that the Coda just it's a mess. And I know others probably will say otherwise about this track and the racing. But I honestly did not enjoy it that much. I think the racing was spectacular at some times, but I just did not enjoy it. And I am hopefully looking forward to it being off the schedule next season. You can call me a certified Coda hater because that's probably what I am from now on. I do not like this track. So, and for all you people saying in the chat about Richmond, I don't care. Richmond's not broken. Coda's got some problems though. But I digress. Laner, you're next.
Um, I think I'll give it like a 65%. Um, just because I feel like there was enough strategy to keep it interesting. Um, and it wasn't awful, but I don't know. It's really hard to like give a good rating based on driver's point of view, but yeah, it was kind of messy, honestly. Like, and we didn't even dive into the corner cutting issues at all. Like, I just realized that.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of issues during the race that were just kind of frustrating. Um, and I just 60. I don't know what I said, 60 or 65. Like that's my limit. It could have been a really good race, but there was just too many things that went wrong for me.
I think in addition to that too, I'll what is it? I'll you know wet my feet here a little bit with the whole officiating situation, with the corner cutting. I think that, and this is the only thing I'll say. Roman did a good job for his first race, but I think that if you're going to hand warnings out to people, to select people, I think you hand out warnings to everybody because at one point or another, everybody was making mistakes and everybody was going way out of where they should have been racing and gaining position because of that, and they weren't called out on it. So I think that if there is going to be any warnings given out, I think they need to be given out to everybody. Um,
Yeah.
and because I will say that I noticed this for some drivers, like I noticed it for you. There was a couple times where I guess he gave you a warning, or if it was only one time, and then I think he gave another driver a warning too. I don't know if it was, I think it was Slater, if I'm not mistaken. Um, if it wasn't Slater, then it was somebody else. But um, it's a no-brainer for me. Like if you're gonna apply that to one or two drivers, apply it to eight or nine of them. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't take much to say, oh, Craigus, here's a warning. CSP, here's a warning. Laner, here's a warning. It's just based off of what you see, like, and then if there's a point where you get to three or four warnings, that's when penalties should be given out. Um, I don't know. I was really frustrated though, just with um like there was no lack there was a lack of communication too. Like I know that we were on a road course, nobody could really type it out or anything, but like nobody was really talking under caution about like the corner cutting and stuff. Like we were mentioning it and stuff, but we weren't like pressing Roman to hand out penalties or anything. So it was it was very frustrating from a driver's perspective because for me, I know I was making mistakes and I definitely deserved some warnings at some points in the race, but I didn't get those. And some other people got them instead when they, you know, maybe made the slightest mistake or, didn't make as big of a mistake or probably didn't deserve the warning. So um, I was a little frustrated by that. Um, and I think that, by the time we get to Washington, D.C. for the street course, I think that there won't be corner cutting, but I think that
Yeah.
there just needs to be more uh, reassurance that you know the official is watching, and you know nobody is really gonna slide away from a penalty or anything. Because even from doing a couple laps at in Washington D.C., there is still uh, room for mistake. So
Yeah.
I think that that's worth considering. But that's the only thing I'll talk about with that topic because it's for another episode. But I figured I'd dabble on it since we didn't really talk
We
about it
totally
that
forgot
much.
about
But
that. Yeah,
yeah,
we could have spent more time on that. I will just say towards the end of the race, like, um, he didn't lay down enough penalties throughout the race. So at the end of the race, everybody knew they weren't going to get penalized. So everybody was just corner cutting. Literally everybody. Like it,
Mm,
nobody was following track limits. And I don't blame them because why would you follow track limits if you're going to get penalized for it? You're not going to get penalized for it.
right.
So I mean, I don't know. It's a tough spot to put Roman in for his first race. Um, so I mean, it is what it is. Coda is a difficult track, and we only had one official, so I don't know. Hopefully next season we have a better plan going into the race wherever we go for corner cutting. But it's whatever.
I would say
And
too,
yeah,
for his first job, he didn't do, or for his first race, he didn't do a bad job. But just something to build on.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, DC literally, like I think it's all street. Like I don't even think there is any corner cutting opportunities. The thing I'm worried about for that race is just driver respect. Like people are gonna have to learn to give room braking. Otherwise, we are not gonna be able to do that race because most of that track is like really high speed, and then you're slowing down going into like heavy braking zones. So um, if we can learn one thing from Coda before DC, just please give each other some room going into the corner, just so we don't have to switch tracks. That's it.
I I don't know. I think for that race, as much as you can probably emphasize that, I don't think anybody's gonna listen. Um, I here's my only thing with DC is that it's a fantasy track, so you know we don't have any like real life footage or anything to go off of. I think that there's gonna be some discussion about how to really approach the track, um, because a lot of those turns are sharp and um, you have a lot of opportunity to make mistakes. And yeah, it's just more so of giving room and knowing when the position is no longer yours. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping that race will be fun and enjoyable. Um, but yeah, that's all I have to say on that
Yeah, I agree.
though. All right, so who is winning Homestead?
Oh yeah, we didn't even give our picks.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I guess I'll say Slater wins at Homestead because he's been really close this season. Um, so I feel like he could get a win there.
Okay. I'm gonna go a little bold here. I'm gonna say Kragus. I think Kragus's uh previous performance at Homestead is really really good. I'm really impressed with how that team has um performed there in the past. I guess my only question is how they would perform this season, and in that race specifically. But if they can turn things around, I have no fear about them winning the race. I think that in the past that they've been really, really strong there, and they can definitely bring a car capable of winning. Like I said, if all goes right. But yeah,
Yeah, that's a good pick. I was also considering picking Wendigo because he was really good at Homestead last season, but last season we ran the Super Speedway package, so I don't really think you can take a lot away from last season.
yeah,
I actually won Homestead last season, but yeah, it's going to be a totally different race. I don't. It's going to be completely different. So
yeah. It'll be definitely interesting to see. I'm not sure if we're racing this weekend or if we're racing next weekend. From the sounds of it, we're racing next weekend. Um, so in that case, tune in to the race next weekend. Maybe we'll have an episode out for you next week. Um, Probably sometime during the week if we can fit one in. If not, we will see you guys after Homestead and we'll break things down after Homestead. But thank you guys for tuning in tonight, and being in constant support of the podcast. And we're looking forward to running these cars too. But yeah, have a great night, everybody, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.
Peace.